Wow. Hey, it's been 5 months since the last video. This project is near the bottom on my priority list, if you can tell. So it's taken up my brain space as well, actually, since the last video. I know I was missing some holes here in the exhaust work. Holes, video clips, having a proper flyby exhaust clip, startup sounds, all that. Hopefully you'll actually see that at the end of this video. We're really just going to go over the muffler install, the Eisenmann race muffler install for this. But, I really want to just to recap what's been going on too. So I had an issue in February. Car was rear-ended February of 2022. Really great at the end of the day because I needed a new rear bumper. You'll see some of the damage of the old bumper. But of course, it was worth it for me, but it's also, not worth it because it's just a headache to have to find a body shop, have to validate their work, make sure they do everything right, fix, whatever potential problems come up. Then you have it on the record too of the car. And of course with black especially, I'm always worried about the paint work and how well it's going to look. If you remember though, in episode 3, I outlined a lot of the exhaust work already done to this car that Mikhail did down in Orlando. I won't go over too much of that in detail in this video, but I will recap, what's on the car. Like I said, this video is mainly going to be about the Eisenmann race mufflers, the installation of those to the Super Sprint X pipe. So I have a full Super Sprint exhaust system, minus the mufflers. So Super Sprint headers, Super Sprint Sport Cats, and the Super Sprint resonated X pipe. So the intro video showcases the interior sound of that setup with a muffler delete. So if you just ran the Super Sprint minus a muffler, that's what it would sound like. It's loud, but it's definitely still streetable in my opinion, not raspy. It just gives you a good, loud V8 power sounds all around. It's too loud for me. Already had muffler delete, wanted to get away from that, more refined, quieter sound, and that's what I got. Once you slap the Eisenmann race on there, I think it sounds great. Hey, let's jump to it. Let's get to the muffler install. Check it out. Got the heat shields back in here. I like this design a lot. These heat shields are huge, and these rubber hangers are just like overkill. These are original, but they still amazingly are good. So you gotta attach them. You basically just push it up, and the studs are up here. The studs are mounted to the body, so you just get this little M8 nut. Tighten those down. So you got 6 of them. There's got one over here. The one problem I do have, because I ran muffler delete, is it broke one of the studs off the exhaust shop unknowingly, or just being cheap. Hung it on one stud. So that basically broke the sheet metal behind it. Anyway, that stud is pushed up in there. I'm actually going to try to pull it out through there and attach it anyway, but that's one reason to get legitimate mufflers, so you don't have that problem. But basically, once I get these tightened down, ready to go, ready to put these mufflers on. Get rid of my muffler delete. One thing I just noticed messing with this is that it's hitting that cross member right there. Hopefully the mufflers will hold this pipe up. If not, we're gonna have to address that. There are some bushings back there. You can see one, the black one to the left. Might have to replace those. Now that is a peasant muffler delete. There's a joke that any muffler delete on this car is peasant, as in budget, cheap, lame. Well, here's your budget muffler delete. That's peasant. So I got this old pipe cutting trick. I'm a little worried about when I'm actually cutting it. It's just going to cut through these, but if anything, I'm going to throw a line down. I need to take 1/2 inch off the X pipe. So putting these little worm gear hose clamps on here. If anything, gives me a straight line. You ever try to put a straight line on a piece of pipe? Not easy. So that's half an inch. What a way to debut these things. Here you go. Under the car. Slightly cramped at the moment. These are the Eisenmann race mufflers with the 83mm tips. Dual tips, stagger tips. So it's kind of a nod to the OEM mufflers. You can see the Eisenmann logo in there. They're nice, man. Polished stainless. I'm a little bit apprehensive taking my recip out of these, but I'm just gonna do it. If I have to clean up anything, I can do so with my grinder, the 60 grit pad on there. Honestly, if anything, I've been here before and I don't want to like hit something, the diff, you know, just, it's a bowl in a china shop, the recip saw, but I'll try to be careful. Now, I will say, one of my worst fears is cutting something just slightly too short, and then you gotta like shave off 1/8 of an inch. Try not to do that. It's like, it's part of just who I am, of wanting to do like perfect cuts and not take too much off. The other part of who I am is freaking out about cutting this nice stainless exhaust system. So I'm trying to be meticulous as possible. You know, hacking off some OEM crap, you know, you're just like, whatever. But once you pay money to replace something that's just fine, probably give it a second thought. So what's nice about these band clamps is it kind of gives you that ridge, right, to at least to get started on. Another thing you should think about is getting a new blade. I just found this old metal cutting blade, so hopefully this is gonna not just go to shit. Well, I had to take it down, heat shield and muffler, because look, it wasn't lining up. The bracket with the bolt. See the bolt? It's like, what is going on? You know? These sides are in, both in, bolts, the bushings. And then, you know, of course I'm thinking like manufacturing defect, and then I was like, oh wait, this is asymmetrical. So I flipped it around, but these tabs on the inside are supposed to be on the outside. So I was like, ooh, I got these reversed. So I had the other side bushing. Anyway, it's a problem with having this stuff in storage for so long. These just got mixed up. So that gets me closer, and this bracket is a little bit bent, no big deal. They get bent in shipping. So I'll just bend it back to meet the bolt. But even without kind of bending it, it'll work just like that. Well, it's in one side. Problem is the alignment is not perfect. Probably just these 3 hangers and the muffler itself. Problem is this thing's kind of heavy and it's annoying to move around, so I gotta take it up and down until I get it right. I guess so. The other option is downstream. Maybe loosening some things downstream will allow me a little bit of play. I don't think so, because that's not gonna help with my left to right. It's really these. I want to tuck these in, or to the outboard of the car, push them this way, which will allow this to move that way about 1/2 inch. And it's just barely resting on the bumper there, but they look pretty badass. So the rear bumper had to come off. I got the passenger side muffler on, but the driver side muffler, getting that on was impossible. I think I've seen people do this when the car's on a lift and you can get completely underneath it and you can really kind of pull the bumper out and then put the muffler on the pipe and then kind of rotate it in. I couldn't do it. It was just too hard. So the next best thing was just removing the rear bumper. And if you notice, I blacked out the bottom portion of this because my crotch is just on display. No thanks. So why am I still messing with this thing? Well, I ended up having to cut back the driver's side X pipe back further. It was almost like an inch back further to where it wasn't allowing the muffler to go all the way in, right? Because these are sleeved, and push it all the way in on the sleeve and it was still sticking out too far. So I had to cut more back on this side. So the pipes had to be cut unevenly, which was kind of odd. But anyway, I like I said before, you know, I'm kind of meticulous. I don't want to cut too much off. So I probably cut it 2 or 3 times and was able to sand it down each time just to get the right fitment. They're what a pain, man. I ended up taking the rear bumper off, consulted a couple people, and they're like, yeah, just do it, because I'm not on a lift, obviously, and having to flex the bumper out to rotate this in is just a challenge. And then also just kind of final alignment and tweaking. Obviously will be done once the rear bumper's on, but just kind of getting it all set. You don't have to fight with the bumper. My rear bumper is another story. It's been repaired, so taking it off caused it to kind of crack further. So I'm gonna go ahead and bite the bullet and see if I can get that fixed. If not, I'm in for a new rear bumper. I'll probably rock the old cracked one until I do that. But taking it off was really more of just kind of annoying. You gotta take some interior pieces off in the trunk and then, you know, unbolt these 2 rear like crash bars. I've got the rear PDC tucked in here for now. Other than that, everything was pretty straightforward. I loosened the exhaust from the headers, or just post the headers back, and just to kind of get final tweaking, I'm gonna have to loosen. I tightened it all as it stands now, but I'm gonna have to loosen that all again once I get the rear bumper on to get this fitment just right. It's usually about this left to right fitment with the tips within the bumper. But I did notice the X pipe, the cross member, the bushings look kind of saggy, so I bought some new ones. I think these are the BMW ones. They weren't too much more expensive, and also this design looks a little bit better because, you know, as this compresses, these 2 things meet. I don't think the aftermarket ones have this design, and also the ones on the car, they're 20 years old, so I'm interested to take them off and see what design they are. Maybe they're leading to this sagginess. Anyway, the X pipe is actually hitting that cross member, so yeah, I'm gonna go replace these. So one minor thing I did not notice is that what is this? This is the left muffler, I'll call it. Is the pipe's a little bit longer than the right muffler, so I didn't fully calculate that, and ended up having to cut the X pipe on the left side a lot shorter, which kind of boggled my mind because I thought they were equal, right, these 2 mufflers, but this one's a little bit longer, as it turns out, so I had to cut it back. Anyway, I got a nice fit. I didn't cut them both the same length because then you might have less overlap, right, pipe overlap, for less exhaust leakage. So that was kind of a little unknown, but got that sorted out. Lots of I think I cut it like 3 or 4 times, this pipe, just to get it right. So not fun, metal dust everywhere, but we got it done. Before I get to the exhaust, let's show you the rear bumper. Now this thing is a mess. I've known it to be a mess. Like, it's got really rough sanding, finishing scratches. Like, they just turned and burned this thing. So this crack has appeared over time, and then this one is fully developed. So this crack was not fully present when I bought the car, but it is full-blown cracked now. So upon taking it apart, you can see all kinds of cracks and fractures and spot of Bondo, and they held it together with this wire, I guess, to kind of close it together, and then they Bondoed it. It's a mess. This thing's needed to get redone. And then come from the back side, you can see some of the, just looks like Bondo right there. I don't know if there's anything extra, like some reinforcing material. It looks like the crack is just up in here. Actually, no, there it goes. So the crack goes all the way down to here, to here. So this bumper was like cracked in half completely. Some of the Bondo. Here we are. So see if we can get a tighter shot of that. Yeah, see this? For one, these may have been replaced. I know the drive shaft was replaced in this car, so they may have put new ones on, but these are extra squishy, and that center support material is not there like the ones I have. So hopefully these will give this brace. Actually, you can see where it's been rubbing. See right here? A couple spots rubbing here and here. Check this out. This thing is correct. Boom. And it's just like squished sideways. So this is a BMW. Got a BMW letters on it. So I'm thinking 2018, which doesn't make sense. I don't know, maybe that's not the right date. Or if that's 1821. Either way, trashed. Alright, I cheated. I went ahead and snugged this up. It definitely... What? Did I gain any clearance? Let's see if we can see. It looks about the same to me. Oh well. The way this is sitting. I don't know. We might have a little bit more. This right side feels like it has a little bit more. It's impossible for me to get a camera shot of that. Oh, maybe. Look at that. Yeah, I don't know. That looks like it's just gonna rub. Oh well, new bushings, the other ones were torn. The other thing is getting this to line up right, so it's a little bit tight over here. I don't want these wires to rub the O2 sensor. So I ended up having to pull the exhaust this way. Just pull it as best I could and then tighten things down. Had to loosen this as well as where it connects to the headers, and I also loosened where the mufflers connect just to try to get as much flexibility in this as possible. But that's the name of the game. I have to do all this over again once I fit the rear bumper. Fitment. Yeah, fitment went well. So I'm going to jump a year and 4 months into the future. This is the new rear bumper. You can see the Eisenmann exhaust here, just idling, slow-mo. So I've got 3 different clips for you to hopefully capture the sound of this system. I've got a throttle blips from idle to about 2, then 3, then 4, then up to I think 6,000 RPM. And then a dyno pull that's in 5th gear, wheel speeds like I think north of 120 miles an hour, all the way to red line, all the way to throttle cut, fuel cut, and then a 0 to 60 run, interior sounds. Enjoy.